Rightio folks, welcome back to Going Bush. I apologise for looking ridiculous, but it pays to be safe. And Nick, we are in a very dangerous spot. This is a new logging coop.
It is, Hardy, and we're here to demonstrate the story of seeds and how it applies to forestry in Tasmania. What you may not be aware is when a coop is cut down, generally speaking, that coop is reseeded with seeds from the plants that were here originally. It's an interesting story.
These are the seeds.
This is basically where it starts. We've got our contractors out there and they'll log a coop. We'll get word from them that there may be seed on the coop. Then we'll go out, we'll have a look, see how much is there, determine whether it's good enough for our seed contractors to come out and collect on a contract basis, or whether we can come and get it ourselves.
Once the seeds are collected in the big bags, they are transported to one of 2 seed kilns in the state where the scientific part of the forest regeneration begins. First part is heating them up in a kiln, just like a fire would do in the wild.
So Carlton, this is the result from a kilning session last night, 16 hours in there?
Yes, 16 hours overnight and about 200 kilos of seed. So what you've got left here is seed and a bit of debris. Once we clean that, about only 3% of it will be useful.
And that goes in the cold store?
We'll clean it into the cold store and a sample used for testing.
One of the most important parts of the whole operation is to keep the genetic balance in the forests. Therefore, all the collected seeds which come from a coop are to be replanted in the same coop.
For regeneration forestry, it's essential that we put back seed which comes precisely from where that harvest is. So our standards have us return at least 10%, a minimum of 10% of seed directly from that harvesting coop. And then the further 90% comes from the region around it. So a zone that ensures that we've got the right genetics for the area, and also that the seed comes from an area which has got the same coldness and the same sort of wet characteristics. So we're trying to maintain the same gene pool.
So once the seeds have been killed and collected, then a small sample of that batch, Hardy, is brought here to the germination room where they're tested to see how they go.
This is where the science comes into it, Nick. Seeds are a very valuable commodity. It costs a lot of money to go out there in the field and collect them and then kill them and then keep them in cold storage for anything up to a year. So some seeds grow better than others. So here we find out which ones grow better, and that way we know exactly how much seed to put back on the coop.
We take samples of every batch of seed that comes through, so we know quite precisely how many trees we expect to get from each kilo of seed we collect.
Replanting takes place after coops are burnt, which is usually around April or May.
First of all, we get a prescription. As soon as the coop is ready to go, we mix the seed that day and it's sent out the following day. Generally on large areas, it's done by helicopter. A slow-moving helicopter distributes the seed in a fairly accurate area. If it's small areas where we're just doing partial harvest, it's generally done by hand because it's small enough areas we can go back through. So there's a couple of ways. It depends on how the site's been treated. The science has become more and more involved and we've become more precise with the way we're handling seed. So I think you'd find now that regeneration forestry is probably a far more scientific and precise act. So we're getting very close to the population of trees and the genetics of that back in the forest